Alan, sorry. Yes. You've just touched on a dagger in my heart. Oh, sorry. Thank you, my brother. Here. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Guys, speak up if I don't do that. The question is, in the church order, it says shall and it says may. And a few places it says shall ordinarily. I'm going to give you my answer. My answer is that word doesn't belong there. Because everything we do in the church order happens ordinarily. It is what ordinarily takes place, even when it uses the word shall. The consistory shall call the church to worship twice on the Lord's Day. Now, my first winter in Sioux Center, we had 2 Lord's Days where, because of the weather, the elders did not call the church to worship. I don't think we were violating the church order. Because everything in the church order is what ordinarily happens. If we are providentially unable to do it because it was just too cold, it was too cold to go outside to go to church. If we are providentially detained, we haven't violated the church order. The word ordinarily doesn't belong in the church order because everything in it happens ordinarily. And in God's providence, there could be any article, even one as significant as worship twice on the Lord's Day, that we would providentially not do. Now, that's my argument. That argument did not carry the day at our last classis. Our consistory brought an overture that would have removed the word ordinarily from a couple of the articles, and the delegates were just not ready to do it. They said, no, we're just not going to do it. And so my argument did not win the day. I embraced the decision of the classis. Classis made the decision. I support that decision. But I don't believe that the word ordinarily belongs in the church order because everything we do is ordinarily done. So that's an excellent observation that there's three times. I think it's only 3, where the word ordinarily occurs. The deacons shall ordinarily meet once a month, the elders shall ordinarily meet once a month, and the word of God shall ordinarily be preached from the 3 forms of unity. I think that's the only time the word ordinarily occurs. Oh, John? Reverend Vermeer?
Somebody just asked me, you can ask the question now, we'll let everybody else ask the question now.
You're a minister, we can't help it. We can't help it. Yes.
It's what you're doing, right?
Yes.
But you have to ask the question, do you not? At times, where you have to say, I got to pick my battles, right? Because maybe there's an issue that arises that you cannot own, right? And if that's the case, there are means by which you can address that. And you have to, and that's not just true for leaders, it's true for members. Right? I mean,
Yes.
you've served as a church visitor, and you've had times where people have come to see you or sought you out, and I've had that. And even as members, this is a decision that was made. You know, how bad do you want to push this? Do you need to push it so much that you have to appeal to a broader assembly? If not, then for the peace of the church, you've had your peace.
Yeah. I'm going to paraphrase everything Reverend Vermeer just said. Oh, you got it? Okay, good. Then good, because I was just going to say, I have no idea. No. But no, I think you're right, Reverend Vermeer. There are times when we say, I cannot own this decision, and then we have the avenue of appeal. Now, I didn't make this clear in the church order section, and someone actually pointed it out to me. I was referencing Article 29 in the church order, talking about assemblies complaining of the decision of another assembly. I did not address, because of time constraints, Article 31. Article 31, if any church member complains that he has been wronged by the decision of a narrower assembly, he shall have the right to appeal to the broader assembly. So yes, if there's a decision you simply cannot own, you are conscience bound that you cannot own this, you have an avenue. And the avenue is the avenue of appeal. That appeal is first of all made to the body that made the decision. So if a member doesn't like what a consistory does, they may appeal that decision to the consistory and asking the consistory to reevaluate this in light of this evidence. If the consistory says, no, we are sticking with our original decision, that individual may appeal to the classis and say, I think this is wrong because of these reasons. The classis can sustain the appeal and send it back to the consistory to redo, or they can not sustain the appeal, and the appellant has the opportunity at that point either to acquiesce in the decision that's been made, or to appeal to synod. An individual can appeal to synod, provided he has first appealed to the consistory and then to the classis. And if he's denied at both of those places, he can appeal to synod. And synod has dealt with personal appeals. So yeah, there are some things we can't own. I would suggest the number of those is probably far fewer than we think. There are some things I just don't like. But I go, you know what? It doesn't violate biblical principle. It doesn't violate the church order. I just don't like it. If I just don't like it, it's not binding my conscience. It's just that I don't like it. When our conscience is bound, we say, if I do this, it is causing me to sin. That's a bound conscience. And that's when we have no option but to appeal. When I think too often, there's decisions we just don't like. And we say, my conscience is bound, and I have to appeal this. Now, you can appeal anything you want. But, and I get phone calls from people, I don't want to say frequently, but I get phone calls from people saying, I would like to appeal this decision. And one of the first things I say to them is, you can do that, but you need to understand, you are embarking on a process that will probably take at least 3 years to complete. That's how long it takes for an appeal to get all the way through the system. Well, I don't want to do that. Okay, you don't want to do that? Then you've got a couple choices. Submit to what the decision is made. Appeal, you've chosen not to do that. That's it. You can't choose to foment schism in the church. You can't keep beating this dead horse. You either submit or you appeal. Those are your choices. And if it's not important enough for you to pursue this process, then you got to sit down and shut up.
And that's where the authority of the church can serve as a means of keeping the peace.
Yes.
Because we can't all have the oak tree in the front of the church. We may not like that. We might, they may, or I should put it this way. I want the oak tree in the front of the church. I tell that to some of the people that are coming into our church and telling them how authority works. But if the decision was put in the back behind the church, you got to ask yourself, is this a hill worth dying for?
Yep.
And if it's not, be still.
Be quiet. Yes.
Just like in our families, right? Mom and dad make a decision, and it'll go well for us if we honor that decision, as long as it's not against the will of God.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
Let's promote the peace and not the chaos.
Absolutely. I appreciate that, Reverend Mayor. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Yes, brother.
I appreciated your comments on church order in general. You talked about Article 33 about property,
Yes.
and you said that was sort of a classic URC addition, which I totally agree with, and I think it's nailed right on the head. Could you comment on Article 25? Because in our past life, we ran into issues where the classes right here in Sanborn attempted or said that our office bearers were deposed by classes.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure that that's clarified. I've had discussions on that even in recent years with URC people that said, well, the classes can depose
No, thank you for that question. Article 25 says this about the delegates and matters of the broader assemblies. Those delegated to the broader assemblies shall be seated only with properly signed credentials, and each delegate shall have only one vote. In the broader assemblies, only those matters that could not be settled in the narrower assemblies or that pertain to the churches of the broader assembly in common shall be considered. All such matters shall originate with a consistory and be considered by classis before being considered by synod. Here it is. No broader assembly shall have the power to depose an office bearer or otherwise exercise church discipline, since these powers belong to the consistory. Again, the church order is a product of its time. 33 obviously shows that. 25 shows that. Article 25. It's a product of its time. When there were men, faithful men, who served the Lord with integrity, and the classis came in and deposed them from the ministry. Their consistories were behind them, were behind their choices, and the classis overreached its authority to declare these men the status of one who is deposed. We saw that happen to our friends and our colleagues. We saw what that looked like and recognized it was not the role of the classis to do any of that. And so the church order was crafted in such a way to make it very clear this can never happen again. No broader assembly shall have the power to depose an office bearer or otherwise exercise church discipline. These powers belong to the consistory. So yes, Article 25 is again a distinctively URC church order article responding to the situation many of us found ourselves in. Thank you very much for that question. I appreciate that. Other questions, other comments? Yes, brother.
Comment on synod agenda.
Yes.
As elders coming in to synod for the first time, we're used to dealing with synod, our agendas as 1, 2, 3, 4. When you get to synod, it's all over the place. So, you have to be prepared.
Yes, thank you. Again, the synod agenda, it'll begin the way you'd expect it to, kind of like a classis begins. You know, opening devotions, roll call, signing the form of subscription, declaring the meeting constituted. You'll get a few initial reports, but then the order of the agenda completely goes out the window. Because all of those agenda items are assigned to an advisory committee. Caveat, parenthesis, it's called an advisory committee, not a committee of pre-advice. That is language from a different denomination. We call them advisory committees. I've got a few hang-ups, okay? So the advisory committee gets assigned all the matters on the agenda. There'll be 12 different committees. Everything gets assigned to one of those committees. And those committees, made up of delegates then, will write a report saying, this is our recommendation for how synod should dispose of this matter. We think you should do it, accede to the overture. We think you shouldn't do it, not accede to the overture. We think it's a good idea, but we want to tweak it just a little bit, not adding something new, just changing its format to make it clearer for us. Let's do that. Those advisory committee reports come to the floor of synod, and they are then discussed by the delegates. But we never know what order they're going to come in. Some guys get their work done right away. Some guys, by the very nature of the work they do, can't do their work until synod's almost over. So the order on the agenda is completely out the window once we get past opening matters. It depends on when the advisory committee has its work done. Now, here's free advice. Don't tell anybody. This is free advice. If you're a delegate to synod, and you will be placed on an advisory committee, everybody's put on an advisory committee, you want to get your work done on time, but not too soon. Because if you get your work done too soon, and there's another committee that's falling behind, their work will be assigned to you. So there's an art. There's an art to knowing when to submit your report. Okay, I see where we're at in the agenda, see how we're doing, maybe go talk to the chairman. Hey, where are we at? Oh, we got a big open space here. Oh, okay, we're not done yet. We're not done yet. So there is an art. There's an art to knowing when to submit your reports. But generally, submit them as soon as possible. This is my synod chairman voice talking now. Submit your reports as soon as possible so they can be vetted by one of the clerks and they can get them to us and we can get them on the floor and get the work done. Synod actually runs best when we know what's before us and we know what we got to deal with. One of the jobs of the officers of the synod is to set the order in which we're going to handle things. And that is not done in a haphazard way. That is done in a very particular way. Okay, this depends on this. This has to go before this logically. So we set that order, but we need to know what are the chess pieces on the table. What are we dealing with to know how to best order things? So yes, you're right. The order of the agenda after opening matters, completely out the window. Completely out the window. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Yes, Brother Muller.
If there's one thing, and this may differ between elders and deacons, if there's one thing that you see most frequently that maybe new officers coming in are unprepared to deal with, like what would those be? Where are the weaknesses?
Yeah, the question is, as you see a new man coming on either the diaconate or the eldership, is there a common weakness that new men come in with? And I guess my answer to that would be this, and I say this with all the love in my heart, is that often new men feel like we need to be doing something right away. I remind my elders and my deacons that the church moves at a glacial pace. We move at a glacial pace. We take our time making decisions. And it's okay to say, you know what? We are not going to decide that tonight. We're going to push that off to old business next month. Men, spend time studying this, praying about this, come back ready to discuss it again. I think that the new guys want to get it all done. Let's get things done. Got to get the work done tonight so we can go home. It's okay to take your time. And I think if there's a second one that would come to mind, it's feeling like this is my chance. This is my chance to get things done the way I would like it. And it's okay to bring new ideas. It's good to bring new ideas. But again, bring them in a form that we can deal with them properly, bring them written with a background, with a request, with grounds. And if it is something that has been a controversy in the church that was just decided a year ago, shall we get the Trinity Psalter hymnal or not? And the church has spent a year wrestling with that question. And in December, they made the decision, yes, we're going to. And you come on in January, don't say no, we shouldn't do that. Don't try to push your agenda. There is wisdom in a multitude of counselors. And I think new men, those would be the two things I would say. We got to get this done. We want to work quickly. We want to work timely. But some things just take more time. And I want to fix this problem. I want to fix what I see is wrong with our church. Okay, but let's do that in a tempered, thoughtful way. So I guess that's how I'd answer that. Go ahead, follow it.
Yeah, try to continue on that.
Yeah.
Are there certain issues that you see consistently with, like, council members, like, where they're typically will drop the ball, like, whether it's visiting, whether it's confidentiality, one of the areas where that's kind of often where...
Yeah, are there places where typically we see the council or the consistory or the diaconate falling down in terms of their task? Um, I would say the one of them you mentioned, confidentiality, is something we have to continually remind ourselves of. I don't want to say we're falling down on that. I just want to say it's easy for us to get lax in that. And in the foyer after church, two elders are standing there talking with a non-elder, and something from the meeting comes up that probably shouldn't be said in public. Just to remind ourselves, be careful. Be careful what we talk about. Between us, it's obviously not confidential because we were both in the meeting. But we got a third person with us. So being aware of that. And I think, and I accuse myself here, I think I always need encouragement in terms of my visitation. I mean, elders ask me, how you doing? I'm behind in visits. I'm behind in visits. That's one more of my refrains. I'm behind in my visits. Oh, I'm trying to get caught up. So I think we all need that encouragement to do the task we're given. And like I said, the reason we spent so much time on visitation, because that's one of the primary tasks that we minister, the ways we minister to God's people. And so family visiting, holding ourselves accountable. We have one of our elders is designated the one to track all the family visits, who has been visited, who hasn't been visited, how long it's been. And he is a wonderful man, and he's a great man, and he is not afraid to lovingly crack the whip. Guys, we're behind. We're behind in visiting. You need to do your visits. Now, he says that in love, but he says it forcefully to remind us we got to get this done. This is our job. So, yes, those ongoing things that are so easy to push off, visitation, easy to just say, I just don't have time this week. Just make time, even if it's one visit, that's one less you got to do next week. So that's how I would answer that. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate that. Other questions, comments? All right. Oh, no, very good, brother. Move here. Okay. I did not talk about that, and that's a great question. The question is, when you have your, say, council agenda, one of the last things often on the agenda is roundtable. We go around the table. Is there anything else you'd like to bring up tonight? And we do that. But we do that with the expectation, we're not going to discuss it tonight. I want to bring up new carpet for the church. Okay, great, wonderful. We're going to put that on old business next week, for next month. In between now and then, I want you to do some research to tell us what it's going to take, how much the carpet's going to cost, and bring us a recommendation, and then we'll take that up under old business. And when we get there to old business next month, if that documentation isn't there, we're going to push it again. If we push it 3 months, sorry, it's off the agenda. Because obviously this wasn't important enough to you to get the work done. So yes, we do round table, but we don't do round table to answer the question that night. We do. It helps us to set the agenda for next time. What is it we have to be aware of? That's a great question, Reverend Muir. Thank you so much for that. So I'll go here first, Brother Mulder, and then we'll... Yeah, we in our council, we avoid doing committee work pretty much at all cost. This is the time for us to inform each other of the work that's being done. So we all are on the same page as to what's happening with regard to the diaconate, with regard to the consistory, so we know what we're doing together. But we don't do committee work. There's been a number of times. And committee work is so funny because it's one of those things where by the time you realize you're doing it, you've been doing it for about 5 minutes now. You know how the meeting goes, like, oh shoot, 5 minutes ago we started doing committee work. And at that point I'll just say, brothers, we're doing committee work right now. We're going to send this back to whoever and ask you to bring us a clearer recommendation, because we're not going to spend time now doing the committee work. So yes, committees have a place. They should be, letting the consistory, the diaconate know what's going on, but we avoid doing committee work in the council room. Now, sometimes you can't. In the consistory room, there are some things you just have to work through. An overture, you got to deal with an overture. Okay, oh, let's change this. Oh, let's change this. And I'll say, guys, we're getting close. It's getting really close to committee work. Okay, there's only one more. So it's a balancing act. But once you're into it, once you find yourself in committee work, you look back and you go, oh, yep, 10 minutes ago we started. And then you stop it right there. And you say, okay, this has got to be cleaner. This has got to be done better so we can actually act on it. So yeah, avoid committee work in the meetings. Use the committees to do the work of the committees. It's a great question. Good. Yes?
I appreciated your comment yesterday about start meetings on time and end meetings on time. And I think about this round table reminds me of your doorknob question. So often it can turn into that. So that's just a danger that it's easy to have happen, but
Right, and so it has to be the expectation of the men. You've all got to know, you can bring anything up you want, but we're not going to talk about it tonight. I mean, you've got to know that going in. You can bring whatever you want up, but we're not going to discuss it. This is helping us to set our agenda for next month. So as long as everybody's on the same page, that works well. If guys think, oh, if I bring it up, we're going to make a decision tonight, yeah, that becomes a problem. That becomes a doorknob question, that I've saved this for the last, and now we got to deal with it. No, this is just to help us know, where are we going? What things should we be thinking about, praying about as we move forward? I want to touch on one more thing, because you reminded me of it as you said that, and that is a matter that I meant to bring up actually twice in the lectures, but didn't do it either time, and that is the matter of mutual censure. Article 63 of the Church Order, mutual censure. I'm going to read it first. The ministers, elders, and deacons shall exercise mutual censure regularly, whereby they exhort one another in an edifying manner regarding the discharge of their offices. First of all, how often should mutual censure be done? Regularly. You get to decide what that means. Historically, it's been done 4 times a year. That's the history of mutual censure. 4 times a year we have mutual censure. But you get to decide what regularly is. If you want it more, you can have more. If you want less, you can have less. But I don't think you could have it less than once a year and call it regularly. I think at the very least, you want to have it a couple times a year. And what are we to do? We are to exhort one another in an edifying manner regarding the discharge of our offices. Too often, mutual censure becomes this. Minister says, it's time for mutual censure. Elder 1, got anything? Nope. Elder 2, got anything? Nope. Elder 3, got anything? Nope. No complaints. Elder 4, no complaints. Elder 5, no complaints. Deacon 1, no complaints. Deacon 6, no complaints. No complaints. That's not what the church order says. It says we are to exhort each other in an edifying manner. This is a time, without patting ourselves on the back, to highlight what is going well. What are we doing well? And so as we go around, Elder 1 says, you know, I was behind in my visitation, and this elder came alongside and said, can I help you with that? And he helped me get back on track. And I just want to say, because of him, I'm back where I need to be in my visitation. Now that's edifying. Elder 5 says, you know what? I know the deacons have been dealing with a benevolent issue because I have some relation to what's going on in my family. And I just want to say, I think the deacons are being gracious, compassionate, kind, and wise. He doesn't mention who it is. That's edifying. So think of mutual censure not as no complaints, no complaints, no complaints, nothing to bring up. How can we exhort each other and edify each other regarding the work of our office? I think, and I don't say this to be self-serving, but when I hear in mutual censure the elders or the deacons say, you know, the last 2 sermons you preached have just hit home. We appreciate all the work you do, blah, 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 but the last 2 sermons you preached have just spoken to my heart. And I appreciate your labors. That's an edifying word. That is a word that will drive any minister back to his study to work even harder. So mutual censure, it's not a matter of nothing to bring up, no complaints, nothing, no. The whole thing becomes a series of 12 no's. It's how do we encourage each other? How do we build each other up? How do we edify each other as we reflect on our work as office bearers? So I had meant to say that at least twice earlier in the conference and didn't get to say it, so I'm glad I got to say it now. Thank you for reminding me of that. Mutual censure, Article 63. Other questions, comments, suggestions? Money? If there are none, just want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sticking it out. I have so thoroughly enjoyed every part of this. I was terrified. Terrified when they asked if I would lead a conference, like, oh, I don't know, like, asking Bozo to lead a conference or something. But I've enjoyed studying these things. I've gotten better clarity on the work of the offices, and I appreciate the Cornerstone helping me with that. And thank you, men, for letting me talk about these things. I do love the Lord. I love His church. I'm so privileged to be an office bearer. Undeserved, absolutely undeserved. But God has been so gracious to call me to serve, and I've had the privilege of serving wonderful churches with wonderful elders. I just wish you all God's blessing as you go back to your churches, as you serve Him, as you recommit yourself to the glorious task of being an office bearer in the church of God. Let's sing together once more, then I'm going to close in prayer. We're going to sing one more time, and it's going to be 544. 544. Lead on, O King eternal. Let's stand and sing all three verses, then we'll remain standing for prayer after that. Let's pray together. Lord our God, we thank you so much for your church, the church of your Son, Jesus Christ. He is the King and head of that church. We praise you and we thank you that you've called us to be office bearers to serve you, and office bearers to serve your people. Lord, please use this time we've spent together in the last 2 days to further equip us for ministry in your church. Thank you, O God, for your word. A word that reveals the qualifications for ministry, the word that reveals the task for ministry. Make us diligent. Help us to do our job well, not to raise a name for ourselves, but to praise our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We ask that you watch over us now as we go on our homeward way, and that you prepare us even tonight to once again join with your people to worship you in church tomorrow. Accept our praise and hear